Right. Welcome back to Crit Couch. I am Michael.
And I'm Skyler, and I have a map.
Yeah, we dug through my manuals. I'm not sure where the Zelda one is, but we did find the map. Also, if you are so inclined to look at the manual, Nintendo did add it to their website after they added the game to, I think, the online store or whatever.
Is this on there too?
Yeah, I believe this is on the Switch online service or whatever.
Y'all should have heard me panicking when we opened this, because it's so old that as soon as I opened it, it popped and ripped, and I was like, "Oh
no!" It was already ripped. There was just a piece it's ripped at the seams. It's not like it's ripped down the middle. You can take a picture of it.
This thing has seen some use.
Yeah. So the manual, we did look at the manual entry for bombs, and I didn't read through the whole thing just because between episodes I didn't want to take the time to. But the bomb itself just talks about blasting the enemy. It doesn't actually say anything about using it on walls. I didn't immediately see any pictures of bomb holes in walls. I did, and I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about, at the very beginning, we were talking about Link originally starting with the sword. There is a picture in the manual of that first cave where you get to pick up the sword.
Here it is.
Oh, it's the map?
Use a bomb to blow up a rock. Who knows what you'll find? And it shows him blowing up a wall.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, but it actually, this is cool. It shows the smoke around the wall.
But no actual cave.
Yeah, so it who knows? Yeah.
Oh, right. We can go with that other heart container while I'm talking. But so the picture in the manual shows Link standing in front of the old man, but there's a choice. Kind of the same way that you have the choice options between the potion and the heart container, you can pick the boomerang or the sword. So
there's a checkbox menu for all of the items.
Oh yeah. But so that is likely from another one of those earlier stages of development where they were still kind of deciding, how they wanted the game to start off. I'm kind of curious what their anticipation would have been for where you got a sword. If you had not chosen it there. Because I guess technically you can do a no sword run up to Ganon. So once you had gotten the 5 heart containers, you would have been able to pick up the white sword. I think it would have been a little tougher, because you would have had to, the boomerang can only kill some of the lesser enemies, like the bats, and the bats don't drop rupees. So you would have at that point had to find some of the hidden moblins that give you money, or use bombs, or buy the candle in order to kind of get to the point where you had enough heart containers to buy the white sword. I mean, they could have also just picked a different place to give you the sword.
Can I read this little excerpt?
You
here?
Absolutely can, because I'm just kind of rambling.
Yeah, but it's just so Impa recounts Zelda's parting words. We don't know who Impa is, do we?
She's in the manual. So that's another thing. The manual has the backstory for what happened, including some little pictures and stuff. Okay. So you would have gotten that before that map was ever opened.
Yeah. But Princess Zelda had anticipated the difficulty of finding the entrances to level 7, 8, and 9 labyrinths. She gave the following clues to Impa, who passed them on to Link. So, this can basically help you, but it's still kind of riddly. Mm-hmm. The mysterious sealed entrance to the level 7 labyrinth is in the brown, dead forest. Go to the farthest west fountain and do something special. You figure it out. Yeah. Use a candle to burn trees. So there's your first indicator that you can burn trees. Have at it, Michael.
It's funny that you're mentioning that as I walked onto the screen, because this tree right here is this is the entrance to level 8.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Use a candle to burn trees and find the hidden entrance to the level 8 labyrinth. An old man who lives near the ocean can tell you which tree in the giant forest covers the entrance. Because it's not...
Who lives in the... where?
Who lives near the ocean.
I...
don't know that old man?
Yeah, I kind of want to go hunt. I mean, I know where the entrance is, but I kind of want to go hunting to see what the clue is.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember.
The next clue is the 2 huge rocks on... Let me start up. The 2 huge rocks high on Death Mountain are known by the people as Spectacle Rock.
Because they're like glasses.
Yep. Of course, the next one is be patient. Use your learned skills and knowledge. Oh, yes. This is like an addendum. Oh, yes. Some rooms in the labyrinth can only be reached through underground tunnels.
Yep.
Those tunnels can be discovered only by moving certain blocks. But first, destroy all the enemies in the room. Kill everyone.
That is actually important for any room where you can push a block. Blocks are not pushable if there are enemies still present. And we saw...
Really?
Like when I got the bow and arrow, for instance, I was able to push a rock or one of the blocks in the room out of the way. Okay, these things. So I haven't really talked about a lot of the enemies yet, and there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about with them, but I think that might be better served maybe like a more dedicated video just to it. But these are called P-hats.
Yeah. I saw them mentioned here.
They can only be hit when they're still, which makes them a very curious obstacle. Because of the nature of that, you almost have to put multiples of them on the screen to make them any sort of threat. Mm-hmm. Because one of them is very easy to dodge. But basically, because they're always perpetually damaging.
Those things were absolutely terrifying when you were Kid Link and Ocarina of Time. The giant.
Yeah.
They were nightmarish.
So here's, if you hadn't talked to the old woman and gotten the clues to move through the Lost Forest, you would use the ladder to cross that river, and that would bring you over to this side. Now there's two different places you could have crossed that river, but now we're in the northwestern section of the map.
I found those two really disparate sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Even if a like steals your magic shield, strike with your sword. The old man will tell you the weakness of Goma.
Those have nothing to do with each other.
Fucking what? Yeah.
Okay.
This is really cool to see, though.
So
it's a relic.
This is an interesting set of screens.
Are you part of the Nintendo fan club?
I don't think I was. So there is actually a secret. I don't remember.
There's a secret here. Also, we got to see if we can get a hold of this. How to Win at the Legend of Zelda is a book that apparently came out in '87, the fall of '87.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
So, crap.
So there's a secret here.
Yeah, I always, because these look so alike, I always forget. I like the original Legend of Zelda. I mean, if I'm full honesty, Link to the Past is my favorite.
Sure.
I try not to hold the old stuff against Zelda because, again, when it came out, it accomplished a ton of the goals that it set out to. It set off an entire genre approach. But I do feel like they put a lot more effort into other parts of the map than this one. There's a lot of nothing up here. There's a lot of these random caves and stuff.
Hi, Lion Boys.
I think it's the screen. Shit.
Are you looking for something?
Yeah, there's an item beneath one of these guys, and I
don't remember.
Technically don't even need it, but yeah, because there's multiple screens of them. It's not even really necessary. It just allows you to quick travel between a couple of places. It's definitely not this screen. But yeah, because this is more potions. Yeah, I feel like, and honestly, it's an interesting argument to make because I think it applies to a number of open world games these days where you can see a lot of effort went into things, but once the loop gets kind of established, especially once you've gotten the majority of the items you need, you can make a world too big and there's nothing to do in that world after that point. Especially if you consider, I mentioned, kind of one of the differences with Elden Ring being that the Zelda games operate a lot more on puzzles and environmental stuff, whereas the Souls games have little bits of that, but they're really more about combat interpretation and
Yeah.
the hell is
I
it?
think especially with like the last couple entries like Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3, it's a lot more. Jesus. That was just a wall of swords coming at you.
Yeah, and I don't even think there's anything worthwhile.
That is a chess match if ever I've seen one. Damn.
Yeah.
Fight that many Lionels and Breath of the Wild all at once. Did you ever?
You would die.
Did you ever start up the It's like is it the Master Quest version of Breath of the Wild?
Not a Breath of the Wild.
There was like the hard mode of it, right?
Yeah.
Right when you get out into the like first plateau or whatever the starting area, there's just like a Lionel just walking around like right out the gate.
Nice.
Anyways, the like I was gonna say like Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, like I think you've got something there as far as like if you're going to encounter something quote unquote like puzzle wise, it's really going to be like the mechanics of a boss and figuring that out. There's been, because they feel like almost pure exploration games to me. It's like the more you explore, the more curious you are of like finding nooks and crannies and different things, or even just the map itself. Like you'll find some stuff, but there's patterns to it too. Like we talked about Elden Ring, like every catacomb you find, like they're always going to drop some ashes that you can then summon later or something. But kind of like with Breath of the Wild, where if you do a dungeon, you know you're going to get a little spirit orb thing.
Yeah. And so I think where I was going with that is in terms of this era of gaming, and it's not just this era. It's a lot of modern games too. If you're building things around combat. Oh wait, maybe is it?
Goodbye, chicken nuggets.
No, damn it.
Do we need to pause?
No, there's not that many of those Armos Knights. There's a good chance that of all the ones that I touched, I just didn't touch the right one. Because I know it's not on this side. But I think like one of the problems you run into is you can't keep introducing too many new mechanics too deep into a game. Like from a development standpoint, it's not...
Devil May Cry. Was it Devil May Cry 4?
Oh, where you just like flip to Dante, like, and then it's like, oh, I just have to play back through everything.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Which, it's exciting to suddenly be able to play Dante. Like narratively speaking, it was cool. But it was also just like, wow, this character plays completely different than the one I've been playing for the last 6-8 hours.
Jesus.
What is that?
That's the power bracelet. I walked off the screen so I didn't have to deal with the other guys that had respawned.
What does the power bracelet do?
We're collecting it for completion's sake, but there are certain stones you can push that will open up teleport stairways.
You have to have that.
Yeah, so...
This is the Yeti version.
It's a more relevant weapon or tool in, like, later Zeldas where, like, you can pick up bigger rocks and stuff like that, but for this game, it literally just exists
like gauntlets and stuff
to bring you to this guy. Whoa. And then you can... Oh, actually, this is convenient. Yeah, so in terms of the mechanics stuff, like, from a development standpoint, you don't want to start introducing too much new mechanical stuff, like, past a certain point in the game, because it's not that you can't. There are certainly games that do, but there's also a level of, like, did you lose your phone down the side of the couch again?
No, the map.
Oh. There's a diminishing return to, like, how much effort you put into introducing new mechanics versus how much you actually get out of them. That's not always, like, a late in the game thing. That can also be a super specific mechanic thing, and I will cite Zelda as guilty of that one with the top spinner in... I may have complained about the top spinner before in Twilight Princess, but it is such a specific need in terms of using that tool to, like, to solve a puzzle that you basically have to design puzzles that explicitly use that weird top spinny thing that you surf on top of.
The dungeon you get it in, though, you do get to do some fun stuff.
You do, but it also is a later item. And there's a similar kind of problem with a lot of Twilight Princess's items, like with the like golem rod or whatever, where it's like the amount of effort that they had to put to make a dungeon work entirely around that item, it creates a diminishing design return. And again, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it feels very out of character with more simple tools. Like the hook shot is an interesting evolution, right? Like the dual hook shot, I think, in Twilight Princess is a very strong example of a good thing to do, because you're used to using the hook shot. You additively connect the next hook shot to it, so now you can do additional hook shot-y things.
I am become Spider-Man.
It's much harder to combine the hook shot with the top or the golem rod, which limits the way puzzles can be built deeper into the game. And the reason that I'm kind of circling around all of this is because mechanically the NES era didn't really have it in the cards to make something with that level of complexity mechanically. So like, it also didn't have it in it to, especially at this stage of the NES, like this is beginning of NES development, right? They didn't necessarily have it in them to mechanically build out the level of complexity to match all of the tools. And I mean, I think that's bait. We'll see what that does. Normally that can draw enemies to it, but there's actually a dungeon that you have to use it to get past something. But so a lot of these items are passive upgrades that allow you to just get, it's essentially lock and key design, right? You need the raft to get to level 4 or to get to the heart container. There's nothing more inventive you can do, which I think their intention was, and we see this in Breath of the Wild now, to allow you to do stuff with it. Like the fact that you can connect the balloon to the raft, and you can like put a bomb on the raft and use the leaf to blow the balloon. Like you can...
That's kind of the fun...
You can domino effect all of this stuff, but in this era, they couldn't do that. So some of those things started spiraling out of control. They said, let's reel it back. We won't do these things. Like the candle is an example where they had the idea of smaller and bigger trees that never got implemented, with the idea that you could burn down small and big trees. But the only big trees you really see are those kind of like stumpy looking ones, and you can't do anything with them. So they didn't. But what that means is they kind of stopped 70% of the way mechanically through what you could do, and there wasn't as much to include in that top left of the map without just throwing more combat at you. But collection-wise, there's not a whole lot to get up there, so it feels kind of weird retrospectively. Like back then, it also felt a little weird because you've gotten all of this awesome stuff in this other chunk of the map, and all of a sudden now you're just like fighting these Lionels and these hard things, and there's nothing really rewarding to get from them.
And see, that's actually interesting, because like I think from a perspective of like, there's a lot of games where like as you're nearing the end of the game, like you have your kit at that point, so now you're kind of finishing up, right? And so really what you're not going to be collecting a lot more things. I joked about Devil May Cry just a minute ago, but like, some of those games are a perfect example where like you have all the different weapons and movesets and stuff as you're nearing the end, and so that's when they start throwing just like some crazy fights at you back to back, or lots of monsters and things, and that's, you're kind of nearing the epilogue, as it were.
But I think the difference there is those are either combat oriented, or I did the Lost Woods. And because this is a good conversation. We're like over time, but I think the difference is like Devil May Cry is more combat oriented anyway, but even the exploration games, they tend to filter down where you can explore. It's like if in Breath of the Wild you get to Ganon's like Hyrule Castle, and it's like it's still a thing to explore, but it's still a finite thing. This is like 25% of the map has like 3 relevant things in it by the time you're here. And that's where the ratio feels weird. It's not that there's anything
a lot of, like,
wrong.
blank areas.
Yeah, the challenges that they give you, there's nothing behind them. It's just there to occupy time. We can keep talking about this, but we are at like 5 minutes over, so next time on Crit Couch.
Yeah. Just a little peppering along episode every now and then.